Everybody get up, it's time to slam now. We got a real jam going down. Welcome to the Space Jam. I've been singing fucking Space Jam in my head for pretty much like 4 days. What is up, everybody? And welcome to the Motorsport Report, Motorsport News for you. I'm your host, Chase Holden. Today, we are going to be discussing Day 8 of the NASCAR versus 2311 FRM lawsuit. I'm also going to give you kind of a recap of everything from our last Motorsport Report episode until now, which hopefully a lot of you, I feel like a lot of my viewers here, you all know we're part of the Dirty Mo Media family externally from this program. But big support, big shout out to Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi for keeping us all informed. They've been doing a hell of a job. So I'm going to kind of go over some notes of everything from Day 4 to Day 7, which is where we left off last week. We'll be keeping up with live updates on X pretty much all throughout this show. That's kind of been the big theme because this is the big story. But that's not everything we're going to cover today. We do have some IndyCar news that we're going to talk about. We have a Gateway Dirt Nationals brief recap, and hopefully we hear from a lot of you guys that call into the show today, which, by the way, I'll be putting that number up here. So don't think that you can't call, because you can if you're just now joining us. But catching up here in the chat a little bit, I do see that, yes, you were trolled by an intro, Grippy. Usually start the intro about 5 minutes before we go live at 12. So if that's a troll, that's a troll. From there, we are going to kind of just talk loosely about what's happening, and I love hearing from you guys. I love getting the phone calls. I love knowing what's on your mind. So I'm hopefully we'll be getting a good bit of those calls today. While the a lot of the reporters and NASCAR affiliates are in the courthouse, we will be taking what we are given from them here live and unpacking it, breaking it down. But it has been a week, and I'm excited to hear from some of you guys today, so I will open up the hotline shortly. At 1 o'clock, we are going to have team owner of Alpha Prime Racing, Tommy Joe Martins, on the show. I kind of hinted at that last week that we would probably have Tommy Joe on this week. Really excited to have Tommy Joe Martins on. He is putting on the inaugural Grand National Bash this weekend. So we're going to talk about that event. We're going to talk about his new driver, LeVar Scott, and really get his thoughts as an Xfinity team owner on everything that's happening right now and kind of learn a little bit of the differences of what it's like running a Cup team versus running an Xfinity team and how all this kind of affects everything down from Cup. So lots to unpack on this episode, and it does start not only with me, but with you, the viewer. The number to call, 980-317-8717. You can get those calls in throughout the time where it's you and I. At 1 o'clock, we will shut down the calls. We'll have Tommy on. We'll talk with him a little bit, and then once that call is over, that chat's over, we will be right back to basics, going over the rest of the news that we have today, where you guys are free to call and discuss anything and everything. So, see, we got Connor Wrigley in the chat. I'm not sure what I'd rather see footage of, Jordan on the stands or Childress. Well, we can talk about how all that went because a lot of it has happened. And to be completely honest with you guys, and I don't know how much you guys have been following this thing outside of what we talk about here on Motorsport Report. You know, a lot of this stuff is me just kind of unpacking what a lot of these other reporters and people that I talk to and communicate with on a daily basis give me to kind of report on. I'm also giving you my opinions and my thoughts on it as well, which apparently is kind of important. I was told by somebody that I didn't realize the amount of work that I've done in the motorsports world. So that's always good to hear. So a little bit of credibility was thrown at me, and I appreciate that. A big thing, too, about this case that we can kind of get into, I'm going to give us a rundown, the 10 most important storylines from Day 4 to 7. I've got I got interns now that are printing out papers for me. So we have interns, and we're going to read through all of these findings so that I don't miss shit. And then I'm going to give you my opinions on it. And I want to hear your opinions on it as well. But, yeah, Michael Jordan took the stand. Richard Childress is taking the stand. Steve Phelps is now taking the stand. And Jim France. So I was having lunch with some guys yesterday, and we were talking a little bit about it, and they all kind of said the same thing that I think we're all thinking, that in the court of public opinion, I think it's fair to say that NASCAR has probably already lost this. I think it's very fair to say, because when you look at everything that we've learned in day 4 through 7, which we'll go through, a lot of it has to do with SRX. You know, that we can get into the nitty-gritties of the financials, and I get it. I think that at the end of the day, to keep this thing as simple as possible, the teams want a fair cut. You're being a hard-ass, Jim, and you're not giving them enough to make them happy. This is your product. This is your family's livelihood. This is your legacy. You pay yourself a $3 million salary a year, and you don't even know how much you make, Jim. How? That's a lot of what I want to get into today. How the fuck does Jim France not know this shit? I mean, I guess like to me, that was one of the funniest things on the stand, is like he didn't know a lot of shit. And we could start there. We could start with old Jimothy. I think that would be probably a great place to start, actually, because it's probably one of the quickest things that I can go over. Jim France's testimony was a catastrophe. Can't remember contract terms. Can't remember key meetings. Can't remember statements he made. Can't recall basic financial facts. Doesn't know how track deals work. Doesn't know what he approved. Couldn't explain the distributions. Doesn't even know if Phelps deserves a bonus. I think we can all answer that question. I think we can. The CEO of NASCAR is portraying himself like an uninformed bystander. It looks like intentional distancing. The jury can read that. Or can they? Apparently the jury's twiddling their fucking thumbs now. You know it's a bad sign when your jury's already just, they got their mind made up. That's what that tells me. I feel like you don't have to be a fucking lawyer to understand that when someone's lost interest, that they usually means they probably have already figured out what matters here. Kind of catching up in the chat here some. Dane says, Jim is so disconnected from the sport, it's honestly sad. We need better leaders who actually care about our sport and want it to thrive. Dave says, direct quote from France. The answer is no. What is the question? You see what I'm saying? Chad says, Jim France used to be typical rich guy defense. Use the typical rich guy defense. I do not recall. Yeah, you plead the fifth, dude. I watched Chappelle's show. I learned about pleading the fifth from watching Dave Chappelle's show, by the way. That is my honest to God way that I learned what plead the fifth means. And I used to say that shit all the time when I was in elementary school. I would just tell my teachers all the time I plead the fifth. They'd be like, how do you even know what that means? I'm like, Chappelle show. Ow! Do, do, do! Do, do! I love that show. But yeah, it really is. Like, this would be a funny fucking skit. I would love it if somebody came out and made like a comedic skit about this trial. I think it would be great. I saw some shit on Instagram the other day. Some fucking podcast is like using AI to make South Park recreations of all this, which is fucking, that's a great way to use AI. I'll say that. If nobody else is going to take time to draw it out, get a computer to do it. You know? But anyway, the big things that I don't think any of us were really shocked by Jim France at all. I know I wasn't. You would think that they would want Jim to be a little more prepared. You know what Jim needed? Jim needed a NOS, dude. Jim needed a NOS energy drink. That's what he needed to start his day, and that's what I'm about to do to start mine. Go tell a friend. Tell your family. This Christmas, don't waste money on fucking socks and boxers. Go buy a case of NOS energy for your family and give it to them. Spread the Yuletide cheer. What's up, Ruben? Welcome aboard. I'm doing my normal ritual before we get into the nitty gritty. I'm popping a Zen to win, and I just cracked open the NOS, dude. So we're getting there. I did see somebody pop up in the chat. Ryan says, "Are you going to discuss the Zen F1 sponsorship leaving you in shambles?" I'm actually proud of them. They're kind of turning into the Winston Cup. Jim Beam, now Zen. F1, all they need now is like a serious redneck driver, dude. And I feel like that's Valtteri Bottas, dude. He would be the best one to portray what it means to be American. And he's not even from America. And he's the only guy that's not from America that I would leave that with. So will I be pulling for Cadillac and will I be pulling for Valtteri? You damn right. Because that dude's a dog. And I love him. And I hope that he pops as many Zens as me every day. That is the only reason that I'm going to pay any attention to F1 in 2026. Slightly for Colton Herta. Majority, they've got the American, non-American Valtteri Bottas representing Cadillac. I'm proud of him. The Zen Cup would be awesome. You know, it's funny because I've been talking about making NASCAR the Zen Cup since 2020, but no one listened. I was in boardrooms with these people. Like, why can't you get... Well, they don't want to pay. Make them pay. This is for America. You tell Philip Morris, you call Philip Morris and you tell him that if they don't make the NASCAR Cup Series, the Zen Cup Series, going into 2026, all hope is lost. Because now everybody, Dale Jr. and Kelly, Dale Jr. download came out. Dale and Kelly sat down. They gave their opinion on everything that's happened. A lot of people have been waiting for that. Everybody's been saying Mark Martin and Dale Jr. are going to save this sport and they need to be president. No. They got other things going on. They just want to see it survive and thrive like me. You know? And we know how much those guys make now. We know how much Phelps makes. We know how much O'Donnell makes. We know how much Jim France makes. It's good money. It's a lot, though. It's a lot. We got our first caller coming in. Motorsport Report. What's your name? Where you're calling from?
Hello.
You know how much Phelps makes.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, brother. I hear myself talking on your phone.
I had to turn it down. Jamie's from Lake Norman.
Yeah, what's up, Jamie? Man, it's been a week, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I know you, last time you called in, you said that you went to the courthouse.
Yes, I'm going to go again Monday.
Yeah, so, I mean, let's be honest. The judge is pissed, and I think that right now this is probably looking like it's going to go 3 to 4 weeks when it was supposed to just be 2.
I think it will be probably mid next week.
Middle of next week is what you're thinking?
I'm sorry. Middle of the following week.
Yeah, so maybe 3.5 weeks to get through this whole thing. I could see that. Well, what's on your mind today now that we've gotten testimony from pretty much everyone that we've been waiting to get testimony from?
Well, I think the ball's going to drop. The ball hasn't dropped yet. I think the big testimony is coming when Roger Penske shows up.
Yeah, when's that going to be? Because that was supposed to be Monday. Do you have any information on that? Because I haven't really heard many people talk about the Roger situation since, like, the first week of court.
Yeah. Well, that's when the other shoe's going to drop. I think they're going to have him there because him being the owner of Indy Racing and their business model and how his business model is successful and NASCAR's is not.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things that have come out in court about IndyCar, though, that we have recently learned. We did learn that Fox pays IndyCar $8 million for the whole deal. Did learn that.
But they get more fans, direct fans viewing instead of a paywall.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I can see, like, in terms of, like, it being, like, in one place, like, is a good thing, right? But, like, I'm trying to, I guess, kind of, like, understand, like, so you're basically saying that, like, him coming on the stand, I think that a lot of the evidence that's already kind of come out and a lot of the things that people have been talking about Roger, where he just maybe showed a little bit of frustration like Hendrick did and a couple other people, but, like, ultimately it wasn't enough to make them not sign. Like, that's what I'm seeing. It seems like has been coming out. Like, I did have a thought, though. I did have a thought, brother, and I wanted to kind of talk about it a little bit on the show today, and it's complete speculation. I have no clue if any of it is real or not, and I think that what you're saying is, like, the bombshell being him getting on the stand to talk about their business model. They operated at so much of a smaller scale than NASCAR right now. Is I think, I mean, like, structurally, yeah, like, it can make some sense, but I mean, is there anything else that you think Roger would have?
I think that Judge Bell might be considering conservatorship of NASCAR, and who else better to have take over a conservatorship of NASCAR than Roger Penske?
I had a dream. I swear to God, I had a dream about this 2 nights ago. I had a dream that, like, they lost in court, like NASCAR lost in court, and Roger, they knew they had to sell the tracks. Roger bought Michigan. Like, I had this dream. Like, I mean, it's something I would love to see, dude. I would love to see. You know, I think that there's only 2 men in NASCAR right now that have the power to kind of step in financially, and it is Roger and Hendrick. And those 2 guys,
Michael Jordan.
Yeah, and Michael Jordan too. But, like, Michael Jordan presenting this thing, like, you know, a lot of people talk about how they need this committee, like they need Dale Jr., they need Mark Martin, they need you know, these older drivers, and I think that can be good as far as competition standpoint. But as far as the business side of it, I mean, when you really look into business, like you said, MJ, Hendrick, Penske, and you got the France family. If they could, if Jim could just drop the ego, dude, we would be in a whole nother place.
I have to agree with everything you're saying, except I have to add one thing.
Mm-hmm.
The older fans, to be part of the fan council, have a more hands-on approach as to the day-to-day operations. What do the fans want to see?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's very clear what the fans want right now. I think, you know, we want better racing, more freedom for teams to explore with the car, a little bit less, you know, boxed in on that aspect of it, and then we want a full season points.
And less tyranny in the upper management.
Yeah, that. Well, I mean, that too. I think that the best thing about this is, like I was saying before you called in, that the majority of people, I think the public opinion is already in favor of the teams, and I think that if we just judge it based on that alone, we know how this is going to end at this point.
Well, I'll end it with this. I judge it as to the size of Michael Jordan's smile every morning when he comes to the courthouse.
I just think he's unbothered. He's unbothered, man. That's just him, bro. Like, you know, it's like when we had Travis on last week, you know, and he was talking a little bit about, like, Denny and MJ. Like, that's just their mentality, dude. Like, they're here to win. They're here to win, and so every day they're gonna assume that, you know, we're here to win, we're winning. And I mean, and it's playing out that way. And apparently NASCAR has that ideology as well. It's just not playing as well. And I think that just a lot of it because they're being a lot more authentic on one end than maybe they are on the other.
I feel the players, as in Jim France, Mike Helton, Michael Jordan, Denny Hamlin, they feel the public sentiment as they enter the courtroom. And their public sentiment is pro-Jordan and not so much anti-NASCAR, but, you know, it leans towards the driver.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and there's a lot of pros and cons. There's a lot of things you can talk about. There's and I'm going to get into talking a little bit about, like, what Dale Jr. and Kelly were talking about on the most recent Dale Jr. download too, which, by the way, everybody should tune into. Really good stuff. But Yeah, I mean, I think that ultimately it's just coming to a head, man. And I'm glad to know that you've been going to the courthouse. A lot of people didn't know they could go. A lot of people didn't know they could show up there and just be there.
I was amazed that Eric finally made it. Eric Step is finally on scene.
I did see him. I know I was gonna go yesterday, but I had some stuff come up and I wasn't able to get there. So I was just, and I'm just grateful for Jordan and Jeff putting out the teardown live every night. That's been huge. I think they were up to like 11K live last night, which was fucking incredible. Honestly, it's big numbers for this. So a lot of the attention's really starting to get around and thrown around there. So we're gonna keep unpacking.
I like how Jordan asked Childress whether he works for NASCAR or not.
Oh yeah, I did see that. I saw that tweet on there. I think he's just fucking around with him. He's known Bob for a long time. Bob used to do a lot, when he was with ESPN and stuff. And from what I think I remember hearing, it might not be right. Don't hold me to it, but I think that he did some basketball stuff in the past. So like there was always
he did. He did. But what I think the reason why Jordan asked that is because when France and Mike Helton show up, he's like on their side almost, almost in their.
I get. Well, I mean, you can't really say that.
Arm in lock,
Well, the most recent findings, whereas from the most recent day in court, which was yesterday, apparently they brought up the 2016 article that Bob wrote during ESPN, where he was like running through all the language, and he realized that like it was locking out other forms of competition that were at the level of NASCAR. So like nobody cared about it back then. But he brought that up. So I think that people believe what they want to believe, and I understand that.
Right.
I've got to this point with it. But Bob, Jeff, Jordan, it's not their job to like really pick a side. It's their job to kind of like try to see it. And I mean, I know I get a little emotional at times, and I can seem like I come off one way or the other, but I really do try to like put myself into both sides' shoes and see.
I think you do a better job at that than Bob does.
Well, I mean, we all have our strengths, I guess, and I appreciate that. That means a ton. I just try to call it like I see it at the end of the day, and that's all we do. And I'm glad that I have people like you that call in and give your honest opinion as well, because this is how we are able to form the reality of like what's really going on out here. So.
Well, thank you, sir, and keep up the great work, and I'll keep listening.
Absolutely, brother. Enjoy it. Well, I hope to see some of your stuff out there from the courthouse. Take care.
Thanks, sir. You shall. Hello.
All right, our first caller for the day. And yeah, a lot of what he was saying, I do appreciate, all the kind words on that end too. Like at the end of the day, all I want to do is make sure that everybody has the best perception and the most honest and real perception of what we are really witnessing right now, and not trying to get too pulled in one media outlet or another, Like it's very important, especially at the time that we live in now, that we were able to kind of distinguish what's fake from what's real. And I think that we're finally at a point in society where, and especially as race fans too, which is even more important. Like, I mean, us as race fans, like it's very important for us to know what the fuck's going on, because we choose to love this. We choose to love this sport. So always do appreciate that. But I'm going to get in, until we get another call, I'm going to get in a little bit of my notes. So the 10 most important storylines from days 4 through 7. The SRX thing was way bigger, I think, than most people realize. And a lot of this was like coming out towards the end of last week, and it kind of trickled in a little bit to earlier this week, like Monday. But NASCAR executives admitted under oath they viewed SRX as a real competitor, as a threat. They wanted legal to stop it. They compared it to a live golf style breakaway. They explicitly connected SRX to potential team owner revolts. We've all seen the internal messages. Those came out weeks ago, where they were talking about how they looked at SRX, and then that's when the questioning started happening. That's when we had Kenny on the show. So when I asked him, like, you've talked to Ray, like, what the fuck is going on? We need to hear from Tony Stewart and Ray Evernham more than we ever have now. And I'm waiting for somebody to, I don't know Ray, and I don't know Tony. I don't know those two guys. I would love to have them on this show so that we could really get a more in-depth understanding of what happened. And I understand that everybody's got to, you know, it's a situation where some people are going to want to be careful, but it just really looks like this was, and I put a tweet out about this last week. It looks like this, like we understand a lot more that this SRX thing maybe wasn't purely financial. And I think a lot of people are starting to see that. And so when you have that, and it makes sense, but like the way that they tried to say, like, I think Toby Christie had dropped out because, like, Steve Phelps' wording was like the moment he saw Chase Elliott in an SRX car, that worried him. And I'm going to pull it up over here on the browser view real quick for us. So let's take a gander here. Look at this car. Does anybody see anything that resembles the Hendrick 9? That's a 94, dude. That's a 94. That was his dad's number. If you don't believe me, here's his dad's fucking diecast. This is my favorite car from like the 90s, dude. How the fuck does that look like NASCAR? It's just funny to me, dude. Like, because this dude was serious about it. Like, they're all serious about it, but I think at this point, like, they're serious about it because, like, this is our story and we're sticking to it. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't add up, and I want to know more. The SRX account came out, and they were fucking tweeting gifs of the Monopoly man driving out of the courthouse, which is fucking. I mean, they're back. They're back. They're being vocal in a different type of way. But we need to hear from Ray and Tony more than we ever have right now. And I want to know when that comes. I want to know what is maybe stopping them from talking more about it, because, like, I mean, for one, you could say, oh, it's not my business, I'm focused. You know, Tony's got his kid, he's got his wife, he's doing NHRA shit, he's focused on that. Ray is going around and he is, he's doing promotions for IROC and like kind of doing the traditional thing. Like, they've kind of got their own little things going on, but like, this is the perfect time. It's the perfect time to come out and talk about it. And I mean, if you really look at it, like, I guess I can see why, you know, if you are the type of person that is uber greedy and you don't want nothing coming in and you want to destroy your enemies and smash your competitors, I guess I can see why you had that thought. Other than that, it was harmless, and it was a great way for dudes that are retired and don't have the money to run in NASCAR anymore to go out there and have fun. And that's what SRX was. So, did it outrank some of the lower series in NASCAR? Sure. But they had bigger names from an era that fans have been hungry for a while now. Okay? We were in an era, and I feel like this has been like this since 2019. So, like, when SRX did come along, was right around 2021. It was an exciting thing because it gave you that vibe. Like, you remember the intro. The intro was so fucking sick, dude. It had, like, the arcade style, Tony sitting on the couch. Like, it embodied that. It embodied the essence of Winston Cup, and I guess that kind of scared him. But it's like, why wouldn't you just start really trying to reel back to that way then? Why wouldn't you start to try to cut, copy, paste? And that's what they did with the Wilkesboro thing. And I can't wait to talk about Dale Jr. and Kelly and what they said on their recent Dale Jr. download. And but Dale Jr. did come out and say he was not a big fan of SRX. And that was announced on the most recent DJD. So if you haven't listened to the new Dale Jr. download, definitely check that out at some point. But he does talk about it. He said he just didn't really care. He didn't really see the appeal. I mean, he's doing Cars Tour. He's got other things going on. And he had heard, like, you know, some of the drivers would talk about some of the cars and the way they had it set up. But it was a fun thing. It was a fun thing. But he just personally, it wasn't like a big thing for him. So that was one little nugget that I can go ahead and tell you guys about from the recent Dale Jr. episode. Number 2 on this list of the important storylines. Track exclusivity clauses now look like the centerpiece of the antitrust case. The biggest mystery of the trial so far, who actually inserted the exclusivity clauses into track contracts? Every major exec is denying knowledge. O'Donnell doesn't remember. Phelps doesn't know. Jim France, no memory. Dare, not sure. Saunders, not concerned. The clauses absolutely exist. No SRX at SMI tracks, no rival stock car series at ISC tracks, no NASCAR-like competition allowed at Cup facilities. This is the smoking gun that supports NASCAR, intentionally locked up real estate to prevent competition. And that's kind of the ball dropper. It's kind of the ball dropper. I mean, when what this trial is about, there's a lot of other shit that you can, talk about, but like this trial specifically is about ruling them as a monopoly, and that's probably why the jury's fidgeting at this point. The gold codes, number 3 that I have here on this list. Jeffrey Kessler set up a trap, and NASCAR walked into it. From internal emails, gold codes equaled nuclear launch codes metaphor. So they basically said that, they were calling them the gold codes, but this was like their nuclear button. This was their way to turn the key from fucking Independence Day, light the newts, kill the aliens, dude. NASCAR believed teams could form a breakaway. Executives drafted scenarios preparing for mutually assured destruction. The analogy landed so hard, the jury reacted. This alone makes NASCAR look like it was preparing for war. And they were kind of. I mean, when you look at all the facts and you look at everything that's been put out, I don't really know what else you can do. NASCAR's going to have to pull a rabbit out of their ass in the courthouse at this point. And I don't even know what kind of a rabbit it is. Internal NASCAR documents show they knew teams were failing financially long before the lawsuit. A 2015 internal board deck tracks $468 million in profit, 65%. NASCAR, $60 million in profit. Teams, $85 million in losses. This proves NASCAR has known for a decade that the model was broken. It supports the team argument. They have always known we were underwater. And the Rouse Fenway internal letter from 2019 confirms teams begged for change years ago. So when a lot of these storylines that have been coming out, a lot of people talked about this has just been a long festering pimple that has been waiting to be popped and has just been sticking around, and it hasn't yet. Number 5 that I have here, the charter negotiation timeline looks worse every day. This is the clean, easy thing right here. Like this is, and I think that a lot of us had already formed our opinions on the timeline, right? But if not, NASCAR set an internal deadline. Teams asked for more time. NASCAR moved to the deadline backward. Teams were given hours to sign. Internal emails show, make sure it doesn't look like a gun to the head unless that's what we want. And that is documented in court. Not a good look. So again, just another one of those things that goes back to what I'm talking about, and I don't think it's a surprise to anybody that's watching this program or follows my content or has eyeballs, to be honest, that this was not looking good for NASCAR from the jump. The settlement should have happened. Number 6, permanent charters. Jim France was the one blocking it. Phelps to Hendrick, we want permanent charters, but Jim won't allow it. Internal notes show Jim is a brick wall. Phelps admits, I don't deny saying that. Jim denies almost everything, creating credibility issues. Teams asked for one thing, well, 3 things: security, equity, permanent membership, and NASCAR said no every time, and that's on paper. Number 7, the SRX to NBC connection changes the entire motivation story. This one matters. Sam Flood at NBC personally called NASCAR saying SRX is causing brand confusion. This was during NASCAR's media rights negotiations, which means that NASCAR didn't try to kill SRX out of pride. They saw it as a threat to their TV money. So that explains a lot. That's, like I said, if you have eyeballs and a brain, you can kind of put that together. The financial distribution numbers are devastating optics. Kessler hammered this, and it landed $400 million distributed to France family. Phelps tried to claim it, goes to taxes. Kessler destroys it by pointing out distributions go to the owners. Owners pay the taxes. NASCAR isn't cutting checks to the IRS. This is the first moment the courtroom actually laughed against NASCAR. For the jury, this looks like teams lose millions. France family profits hundreds of millions. And that, my friends, is bad optics. I've already read over Jim France's, testimony earlier in the show. And then the last thing I had on here was Steve Phelps' text plus his I don't recall pattern hurt NASCAR's credibility. Phelps' contradictions matter. He said next gen lowered costs. The car is the safest in motorsports. Ask Kurt Busch. Trackhouse in 2311 only entered the sport because of next gen. Teams didn't support cost cap. Not true for mid-tier teams. Doesn't remember huge exclusivity decisions. Doesn't recall being told about team breakaway efforts. Doesn't remember Roush's 2019 letter. Doesn't recall when the charter deadline changed. It looks like selective money. And the jury will pick up on this, or maybe they won't. But the bigger things, and like I said, I don't know if the jury's picking up on anything at this point because they all look like they're about tired out. They need a NOS energy. That's why I need to go to court. I need to bring the jury some NOS energy, wake them up so that they can stay sharp up there in the jury box. But the big things here is the SRX deal, the exclusivity causes the gun to the head message about getting the charter signed, and then the money trail. So the money trail, I don't want to spend a lot of time going down the money trail because that would basically take up our entire fucking show. But those are the 10 most important things to know as of now. Rolling into here, and I'll catch up in the chat a little bit after reading all that out to you guys, and hopefully that clears up a little bit more of kind of like where we've been to where we are today. The moral of this story is that NASCAR's legal team is not doing so hot, and there's a lot of little things in between here where I can understand. Like with a lot of the I don't recall shit, I think that is intentional, or either it is true what they say about no matter how high you go up the ladder, it doesn't mean that people get smarter and smarter and smarter. And I think that more and more people are starting to realize that. We'll take another call. Motorsport Report, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is DJ calling from Wisconsin.
DJ from Wisconsin. What's good, big dog?
Hey, I just wanted to comment a little bit on the comments made by Kenny Wallace with regard to some team owners possibly being interested in buying NASCAR from the current France family operation.
Yeah.
I had a conversation as a member of the fan council at one of the SMI tracks around 2017, 2018 with the team president, who I won't name, but he had told me in confidence at that time that it was his and further SMI's belief that the France family didn't really want to own NASCAR. What they really wanted to own was an NFL team. They saw the NFL as maybe a more lucrative venture. Apparently they had put some feelers out to see about joining an ownership group as either minority stakeholders or possibly majority stakeholders on an NFL organization. And that they were actually trying to offload NASCAR to somebody if they could find a buyer. I think at that point in time, they kind of saw the writing was on the wall,
and what year
that they weren't turning as large of a profit. I'm sorry?
What year was this?
This was around 2017, 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, and this was a conversation I had with the track president as a member of the fan council for this track.
Whoa, dude. Well, if what you're saying is true, I mean, you could date that back to just speculation from a long time ago, like Joe Gibbs coming into the sport, right? That's when they kind of got their little taste of like trying to do some cross collab with the NFL. You remember NFL racing on Bobby Labonte's car back in the day,
right,
and stuff like that. So I don't think that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to take you at your word, but what I will say is that I don't think that would be super shocking to find out, like, you know, if they wanted to go in that direction. that's big shit right there, because that really clears up some motives. It really clears up some of like why these things have been done this way, and they're just kind of like, whatever, like it's just making us money and we'll just kind of just let it ride. I mean, like that right there, I don't know how they would really use that in court, I guess, but just publicly, like public knowledge, that being out, it kind of like makes things make sense a little bit more as far as like how their internal operations were going. So that's, I
think what it speaks to is that they were looking for a more lucrative endeavor and they could see the decline in their own sport, and they were possibly looking to get out and offload it.
That's so fucking
That was the impression I got.
And that's so sad, dude. It's like, because your family built this thing, dude. Your family built this, and I get that, like, if it's not looking good, like, find a way to make the sun shine again. It just says a lot about their character, I guess. They're ready to jump ship or whatever. But I think ultimately, like, what you're saying is that's the ultimate proving ground that, like, if you're not in this for what this is and what this can become and how we can keep growing this thing, then maybe it is time you go. Go try to get that NFL team. I don't know what NFL team they're going to get, but go shoot your shot. Like, that's
if I can add one more point to that. The other thing that came up very often, and I was on the Fan Council for several years, and in a lot of conversations, this track that I was at had 2 dates a year. So we had a couple interactions a year with the team president in these meetings. He made it very explicit and said that NASCAR throws stuff at a wall and hopes it sticks without doing a lot of research. So when you find that they make these decisions, they're just trying things and hoping that it works. I think a lot of this harkens back to another SMI track at the All-Star event where they used the 550 package for the first time. They said, oh, wow, look how close the racing is. The cars are so tight. They're side by side. This is awesome. Let's see if we can implement it. That's literally what they do, is they just throw stuff at the wall, and the tracks are left to deal with it. Wow. You know, you look at SMI and what they've done with some of their tracks, the reprofiling of Bristol in 2007, the reprofiling of Texas after they had the issues with the rain and the weepers and everything. Mm-hmm. They're trying to catch up with some of the bad decisions that NASCAR has made and compensate that by way of changing the tracks. And it's costing them money too. There was a lot of frustration on their end. That's the impression that I got anyway.
This is probably one of the biggest calls we've had on the show, man. You dropping all this stuff, and like, it really does. It makes a ton of sense. And like, optically now looking at it, like when you look at it from that perspective, I mean, it makes everything make sense. It really does, because there's no internal alignment in this entire operation. There's no real direction, and that's scary. That's really scary when you're dealing with this much money and this much of this big of an entity. So that's crazy shit, man. I appreciate you calling in and giving that information out today. And I mean, this is the first I've heard of it, but like I said, I take you at your word. And yeah, I mean, is there anything else? That's kind of a rocker, dude. That's kind of a rocker right there. Like, I think that more people need to look into that for sure. I mean, is there anybody else that's really talking about this or writing this up?
I don't know. Again, some of these conversations were off the record. It's been nearly a decade since I've had those conversations, and that's why I feel like I'm compelled to at least say something about it. But there were other individuals in these meetings. I wasn't the only one. So if anybody out there is listening and they want to chime in, I know that these tracks have these fan councils and they talk to these track presidents. I'm sure that there's some light that can be shed. I'm sure the other track presidents would express some frustration with the sanctioning body. But if you look at the track record and we see, hey, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? It doesn't make sense. It's because they're literally throwing stuff at the wall, hoping it'll stick, hoping it'll help with their ratings. I think they saw that they were on the decline, and they were trying to do something about it. Unfortunately, because of NASCAR and ISC's merger and them having these exclusivity rights with SMI tracks, they're all in the same boat together. And when some people are wanting to get out, it doesn't make other people in the boat very comfortable. So
absolutely.
I'll leave it at that. Thanks for having me. Take care. Keep up the good work.
Hey, thank you so much for calling in, brother. Appreciate it. All right, guys. That's a big call. And I want everybody that's here watching this today, talking about this, I'm not getting on Twitter right now. You guys put it out there. Let it be known. This is why I love having this show. I love hearing from people that maybe have some information that they want to talk about and give out, because that makes a lot of fucking sense. That makes a lot of sense. And the thing is like look, when you look at business, I feel like it's something that's not talked about a lot. But just from things that I've been around, I think there are probably a lot of organizations that are running like that are just kind of throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. But what's important is getting the idea, developing the idea, understanding the problems that may come around that idea, and then revisiting that idea and figuring out just how to make it work right. So like if they're already just like fucking halfway out the door and everyone else is just trying to keep the boat floating, which is the analogy that he was making there, it goes back to one of the simplest, most fundamental things in life. And it's something that I preach a lot. Be aligned with your mission. Be aligned in what you want to do. If you don't have the people around you that are aligned with the ideas that you have, you got to find them, because you can't do it all by yourself. But whenever you've got an entire, I think somebody said it here in the chat, the third generation gets a little lazy at times. And maybe that's just, they're following the money. They're following the money. And there are people in this sport that have built their lives, their family, their legacies. You don't want to see something like that go away all because someone's following the money. And I think you can go back to the Heather Gibbs letter, the way that they say that Jim responded. Even though Jim came out and said on the stand that he didn't respond in that way, I think I'm going to believe Heather Gibbs, especially going through what she was going through at that time, and losing Coy right after Ty won the Xfinity Championship. This is a tough time for that family. And that's not something that people talk about enough. Like, people are talking about it now. But, like, how tough of a time that was for them. And how Jim was just kind of like, this is what it is. I don't care if it's 20 or 30. They're checked out. They're checked out. And that call that we just had, that was huge. I don't know how else to say it. Like, that was big. That's why I love doing this show, man. That's why I love having you guys call in. Because, like, now you see it all from another side. I'm reading right here in the chat, Carolina Panthers sold in 2018 for $2.2 billion. Yeah, Connor says that you heard it here first moment. I don't, like I said, there's nothing that they're going to be able to do in court with this anymore, but maybe it'll be something. Who knows? It's 12:48 p.m. Got another call coming in. Motorsport Report, you're live.
This is JB again. How's it going?
JB, good to hear from you, brother. How's your day going today?
It's going. I'm traveling eastbound on 40 in Tennessee.
Yeah, man. There you go. Nothing like a good old Smoky Mountain drive.
All right. Shout out to all the truckers out there.
That's it, man. What's on you? What's on your mind today, brother?
What's on my mind is I think that after this court debacle is over with, Phelps needs to resign, and we need to move Steve O'Donnell up, and we need to get rid of the France family. We need to get Kelly Earnhardt on that board of directors. That's all I got to say after watching last night's Dirty Mo.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, dude, Kelly quit with the whip, dude. Like, she knows. Like, I mean, she's good. She's a good businesswoman, man. And she's somebody that
she's level-headed.
Yeah.
You know, she sees both sides. She can agree with business. She can agree with the teams and just find the middle ground. She said it herself. This is easy.
Mm-hmm. It's ego, dude. That's what we've been saying from the beginning, dude. It's ego. It is just fucking, I want to be right. The little kid pissed off in the corner that he's getting his hands in his face or whatever. Like that's the France family right now. I mean,
this is all. But see, like this is like a NASCAR pattern, right? Yeah. Constantly, like I don't know who. Like I don't show up to a NASCAR race to like watch NASCAR themselves, right? I show up to watch Joe Gibbs Racing and that 11 car get on the track and run. You're just helping put on the show, but I'm there to watch the team, not just NASCAR. Like when I go, I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. I don't show up to watch the NFL. I show up to watch the Panthers get out there and whoop some ass. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So to sit there and have this level of disrespect for pretty much like after watching the teardown last night, the France family has disrespected every team in NASCAR. Why any team would be on their side at this point is beyond me.
Yeah. No, it's 100%.
Especially after reading the Rick Hendrick letter.
Yeah. I mean, when you got guys like him coming out, that was the biggest thing for me too, is just being able to see that. I mean, like even the guys at the very top, they're just kind of like, meh. Like you understand it. And it gets clearer and clearer by the day, and I think more and more people, like, I've had my suspicions for a long time, kind of how things went and how things
100%.
Would go, and just from being around the industry, just from being in conversations and hearing people talk, like, it's like, I didn't realize, like, I had a long time where I didn't really realize, like, the company that I was around, I guess. And, like, I was just kind of, like, thinking, oh, everybody kind of sees it like this. Everybody kind of – and apparently I'm like, no, apparently they don't. And so I'm glad to be able to, like, just try to, like, get to that level ground, man. And I think that that's where we finally all are. Because it's like I was saying in the beginning of the show, like, I think court of public opinion, I think this thing's already over. When you got the jury twiddling their thumbs at the end, they're ready to get the fuck out of there, dude. They've already got their mind made up. I don't know how else to –
Yeah.
I don't know how else to put it, and I don't know what the fuck NASCAR is going to do when they get their chance at their questioning and their side of it. I just good.
I don't know what they're
luck.
fucking getting us now. I can't imagine Penske would be any better. I mean, Rick Hendrick's letter alone is like, dude, really?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm surprised if like even if you took like all the other teams, if Roger Penske's like their smoking gun for some reason to like help them or whatever.
Yeah.
Why would any of y'all sign the charter agreement? You literally have a billionaire. Michael Jordan's worth like $3.5 billion. Like I had to look it up today because I was like, I didn't even realize that. It's like it took a billionaire to fight a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
But none of the other teams wanted to jump on the side of a billionaire to help take down the billionaire.
Well, they just didn't want to take the hit. They didn't want to take the hit, and I mean, I think that you had to come from a level of certainty, right? Like, that coming 100%. Into this, Michael Jordan is one of the most competitive human beings on earth. For one, if he knows that he's on the right side of history, then why wouldn't you go all out? Because he's one of the only guys. Like he's a gambler, dog. He likes to roll the dice, and he likes the big swings. So when he saw this, where he was sitting and being around Denny and being around the sport and kind of learning how it went, he realized quickly, like, oh, we can win this. We can win this easy. Because he saw the fragileness of it really is like NASCAR is. You would look at him as strong, powerful entity, and I love the brand and I love the history of NASCAR, but it was because of the drivers, it was because of the teams, it wasn't because of the France family for me. It was the drivers and the teams that made it what it is, and that is the reality. That is the optics of all of this. So, yeah, to me it always felt like it was a dub. But, yeah, it does come with that instability of not really knowing, like, well, shit, like, yeah, you'll win, but what does it look like now when the judge is issuing how this works out? Who's going to step in and buy the tracks? Who's going to have control over it? How is that going to be regulated? That's where the big worry is now. But, like, I'm starting to not worry as much because I feel like there's enough people in there that care. Like when you read about like Hendrick and Penske and you wonder like, well, they signed these agreements, but, why did they? Well, they had enough to where probably that they could eat the losses, and they care about people. They care about their teams. They care about the people they employ. They care about their drivers and their legacies. And so like that, you have to have empathy. You have to have empathy as a human being, for one. And so I feel like that's probably why they did sign these things. They were just like, we'll take the law. There's just too much at stake. This is the life they've created.
If NASCAR would just admit, which they never will, that they're wrong.
No, they want to buy an NFL team.
You're wrong about something in life. Just admit you're wrong. And go, yes, we couldn't have done this without the teams either. It took everybody as a collective to make this happen.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. Because you've got every team sending you a letter going, we won 2 championships in the last 5 years, and we lost money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, WTF? You know what I mean? Like, what? Hendrick Motorsports, that's got all the name brand sponsors and been winning championships on the regular, lost money? You got to be shitting me right now.
Yeah. I mean,
like,
it's
that's
just because
insane to me.
I really think, like, the only thing that makes sense business-wise is, for one, they have other structures that are set up to where they make their money. For two,
right.
they've got their legacies. They built their name. They could eat those losses. The only 2 people in the sport really, or the only 3 people in the sport that could do it right now is, like you said, MJ, Penske, and Hendrick. Those are the only 3 guys that are probably big enough to where they could eat that. Everybody else can't. So that's why I love that MJ did come out earlier in the week and said, I'm doing this for everyone. I wanted to be a voice for everyone that was too scared to speak up. And I think I
wouldn't be surprised, bombshell, like just think it out loud. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Michael Jordan could scrounge the money up and just buy NASCAR. Wouldn't that be some shit?
I can't say that I haven't thought that may be a strategy.
Because come together with some partners, buy it, it's cheap.
Well,
and then you can do what you want to do, like the NFL, and do the percentages and grow the sport and get some different people on the board and really turn it around. Like, I wouldn't be surprised one bit.
Yeah, and it's like Kelly and Dale were saying the other night on their show too. Like, they were talking about, like what this would look like if the charters basically like aren't charters anymore and they become franchises, and each team is like a franchise. It completely changed the sport because different people can come in and out and buy those franchises now, just like they do in the NBA and the NFL. And I know that would separate it from what stock car racing really is. But at the same time, at the level that it's at now, it's like you're already in a position to where it's like that might be the reality. And you gotta kind of figure out like we're entering a future right now that looks very uncertain for like how the business structure of things is going to move. But as long as optically the right people are in the building, they care about winning, and they get out there and they try to be as competitive as possible, and not so much of just like, oh, we're just here to kind of like get a check every week. And the start park situation was a big thing that they talked about. Like, the closer that we can get to that, the more I think that we'll be okay. And I don't know how long that will take, but I'm a little bit more comfortable now knowing that I feel like if it all does kind of like stumble and fall apart in court, let's say the teams win, they make them sell the tracks. Like, I feel like there are enough people involved with enough money that could pull together to try to make it as best as possible.
Well, like Kelly and Dale said, the tracks really ain't worth anything. It's the land they're sitting on.
Yeah.
So, to me, like, selling the tracks could mean, you're selling them to put on races, or you sell them and then the tracks are now starting to disappear one by one. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily know about that either.
No, so I don't think nobody.
They could be so pissed that they just start selling stuff off, and they had no intention of racing there ever again.
And that would be the sucky thing. That would be what sucks the most.
Just because, to me, the France family right now, they're getting. I hate to use the same thing they said about Richard Childress, but they're getting taken out back, and they're getting flogged right now pretty hard. Yeah. So to shoot back at the Richard Childress, like they're getting whipped.
Him being on the stand too wasn't as big as I think a lot of people had hoped for. But finding out that he only, he was trying to sell, he's got 60% ownership, I think. He's got some people trying to get out. That was big. But brother, I got to let you go. We're about to have Tommy Joe Martins on the show. It's always good to hear from you, and I appreciate you calling in.
Yep. Adios, bud.
All right, guys. When we come back, we will have Tommy Joe Martins on the program. Don't go anywhere. We're going to talk to him all about the Grand National Bash that's coming up this weekend. We're going to get his thoughts on everything that's going on in NASCAR right now, and talk a little bit about his team and his plans and his new driver that he has. So, BRB.
Okay.
All right. I now welcome on to the Motorsport Report. Good buddy, big cigar guy, big gar guy that we've hung out with a couple of times. Is Tommy Joe Martins, team owner of Alpha Prime Racing. Brother, it's been a crazy couple weeks, huh?
Yeah, it's been a busy off season so far. Appreciate you having me on, dude.
Yeah, brother, for sure. I know we got a couple of things that we want to talk about. Obviously, the big thing, the inaugural Grand National Bash that you guys are going to be having this weekend is going to be pretty huge. And I've been interested to learn a lot more about it. And I know that we're going to have some things that we'll talk about offsite as well. But kind of talk to us a little bit about this event and how everything got started and what it's all about.
Yeah. So, I mean, the bash is a concept, right? It's kind of built around this idea that I felt like the award ceremony that NASCAR does at the end of the year, while it is really cool and awesome, and I've been fortunate enough to get invited to that a couple of times, it is not exactly an inclusive event. It's not really meant, I get it, it's an award ceremony for the people that have won at the front of the grid, and the reality of it is just like not everybody in the field is racing for wins every week, right? Like there's a lot of teams like ours, and there's really kind of races within the field, and it's something that I've talked about a lot, and wanting to create something that just involved the entire field and made sure it felt like everybody was included at the end of the year and appreciated for what they were racing for. So we decided that we wanted to create an award ceremony, right? So not a banquet, not a whole to do, but an award ceremony. And we were going to kind of host it almost like the Oscars, right? Where we're going to say, all right, here are the categories. And the way that we broke the teams out was premier and affiliate. So an affiliate team would be like an AM Racing or somebody that has an alliance with one of those bigger teams, right? So those would kind of be like our middle teams. And then the independent teams, so a team like Alpha Prime Racing, SS Greenlight, DGM, Young's Motorsports, some of those like true kind of smaller independent teams, like that's kind of its own category too, right? So by breaking the field up into that, we're like Junior Motorsports is competing for awards against Joe Gibbs and Colleague and Hendrick Motorsports and Tricon and some of those bigger championship level organizations. Like, yeah, they're kind of competing against each other. And we piled trucks and Xfinity together into one kind of big pile. And then we had a panel of voters sent the voting link out to about, probably about 250 media, teams, drivers, crew members, crew chiefs, team managers, agents. There were just a lot of people involved in it. And really, this is going to be an award ceremony that's for the garage, and it's the people that are in the garage, and it's for the people in the garage, and it's voted on by the people that are there too, right? So any of the awards that get won there, they for the winners and for really the finalists, like to be clear, like they were voted on by all of these people,
right?
And I think that's really cool, and that's something that doesn't happen, right? Like the banquet at the end of the year with the NASCAR side of things, they recognize the final four drivers, maybe a special award here and there, but it's really just like kind of a big get together. This is like, we want to single out high performance in whatever part of the grid you were in.
I think that's huge too, man, because for one, we all know that the Xfinity series is kind of really taken off this year, and there's a lot more than just those bigger name teams like you talk about that are included in the races, pretty much week in and week out. So I love that you're doing that for everyone involved. It's another way for people that are that maybe are a little bit more the casual viewer, or somebody that knows about the Xfinity series. They can go a little bit deeper into like who's driving for who, what teams are doing what. And so I love that aspect of you putting this on for everyone in the racing community. And I know that we'll have some other things coming out, I'm sure, at the end of the week that we'll announce and get some people a little bit more in-depth information on how they can see what all goes down and happens at the event. One thing too, there's the hot topic right now, Tommy, and a big reason I wanted to have you on the show was because you had put a post out a couple of weeks ago that really caught my attention. I wanted to kind of just pull it up so I could read it verbatim. You'd said, "Every text from everyone involved just confirms everything I've felt for 10 plus years. It's not a disappointment to see it all. It's a relief. I wasn't just dreaming it up. It was actually happening." When all of this started, kind of like in your mind, like what is it that I think you felt really like on that day when you put this tweet out, like, and how you viewed the sport that you've been a part of for so long?
Yeah, and that was kind of in reaction to a lot of the text that came out there in the lawsuit, a lot of that stuff that kind of got disclosed. It was kind of the NASCAR leadership talking about Richard Childress, or talking about BJ McLeod's team, Live Fast Motorsports, in the Cup Series, and really just kind of talking about competition stuff as a whole. And obviously that was a place of frustration for me, right? It feels like I've kind of been in this stuff for a long time. I understand that I'm not a championship winning driver. I'm not we are not a championship level organization, but we are a competitive organization, and I have tried to be a competitive driver, and I've really tried to put the best foot forward each and every week, and try to bring in do the best we can, right? And I feel like that's something that's kind of gotten lost, it feels like. In a lot of this stuff that's come out with all the text and the way that it's been communicated from leadership in the sport down to people like me, it's just that they're really not very interested. And
that's discouraging.
It's like all the communications from the top level has been with the Roger Penske's and the Rick Hendricks and the Jack Roush and all these legends in the sport. And I have so much respect for them. It feels like, that's where all the decisions are being made. They're being made at this like elite level, premier, top of the sport level. And man, that's just not the majority of the sport. Like, the majority of the sport is teams like ours and teams that are not contending for wins each and every week. And I just feel like the sport as a whole is so much better when everyone feels like they are involved, right? Like, you're going to get different perspectives. And so that's what that tweet was really about, Chase, is like, I've kind of gotten this.
A vibe is a good way to put it.
You get a vibe, man. You get a vibe when you're talking to some people. Yeah, and everybody's done this in their life, man. They talk with somebody that is important, in their job, in their industry. And you just get the vibe from them that you go, this person doesn't really give a shit about talking to me right now. Like, this is like, I feel like I'm wasting their time. Like, they're basically ready to move on to the next thing. And every time I've talked to any NASCAR leadership about any of that, it's kind of that vibe where it's like, I don't really know who you are. This doesn't really matter that much to me. And thanks for coming. Pretty much. I'm like, cool. And it's like when you spend your entire life, like for me, I've spent my entire adult life since 2008, really trying to be a part of this sport. And my family has risked a lot to try to give me an opportunity in the sport. And we are still fighting to be in it. It is a struggle each and every day. And to hear people like Joe Gibbs saying that they're worried about the finances of their team, it's like, well, Jesus, like, 'cause I'm worried about the finances of Alpha Prime, and we're a lot smaller. And it's crazy to hear that even bigger teams are having some of the same stuff. Like, we all are basically just spending to our budget, right? And it's really hard to make it work. And obviously, I feel like we found a way to make it work for a fraction of what they have found a way to make it work. And yet, Chase, they would come back and say, and the way that it was phrased in some of that NASCAR stuff was that really they don't consider a team competitive unless they can run 15th or better every week. And it's like, well, one of our teams beat two of the Colleague cars this year in the points. So like, I don't think that we're uncompetitive as an organization, but just the impression that you get from those people that are decision makers is that ultimately your opinion or, your insight on this doesn't really carry as much weight, and you're not going to get involved at the level, as some of those other people. And so, like, anytime you feel like your voice isn't being heard or you're not acknowledged, like, I understand my place in this, and also I feel like we should at least have a seat at the table or a level of respect from doing this. And I think a lot of that got lost, right? So, like, when you see a lot of those texts from those people like involved, again, they're looking at this from one perspective, and it feels like there wasn't a lot of respect being given out, right? Like they just they weren't very complimentary in any way of a BJ McLeod or those type of people that I've really learned the business from. And
that's distasteful. And it puts a lot of distaste in your mouth too. And it kind of leads me into like the next thing I wanted to ask you about. So it's like, we're learning a lot about like the financials of the Cup side. We're learning a lot about, how, what you're talking about is how you learn how to read a room, kind of in this game. And whenever the people at the top level, like a Richard Childress or a Joe Gibbs, you see them getting treated like that automatically is going to be like, well, we're, like you said, we're not even where they are. And like, that does not feel good whatsoever for us. What are the major differences? And for anybody watching now, I think this could be really good information. Like in terms of like what they deal with in NASCAR Cup Series, like how does that translate to what you deal with in the NASCAR Xfinity Series?
Yeah, I mean, I think the business model is so different now, Chase, right? Like I've heard the stuff, I've seen the disclosures about some of the money that's, up there in the Cup Series, and it's obviously it's like astronomical to me. I mean, the average Cup team compared to our budget in the Xfinity Series, they're getting paid per race 5 and 6 times what we're getting paid. And then I would tell you that we're getting paid probably double what a truck team is getting paid. And that's maybe even more than that, maybe 2.5x.
Yeah.
So like that gives you an idea of just the massive gap in revenue here that is between these two series. And like I've made the case for a long time. I made the case on a Nate Ryan podcast in like 2019. He had me on there, and he's like, what can NASCAR really do to fix this? And I was like, well, the amount of money that it would take to fix the lower divisions is actually, you pile all that money up and it's really not that much money in the grand scheme of things. Like you hear about the disclosures and all the amount of money that's passing through in the Cup Series, $40 or $50 million completely fixes everything down in the bottom 2 series here, to where every single team is not reliant on sponsorship and is hiring their own drivers. And a driver like a Matt DiBenedetto is never going to be without a ride if everybody considers him to be one of the top 100 guys in the world at doing this, right? Like a guy like Rico Abreu wouldn't be kicked out of NASCAR and like, well, we couldn't make the sponsorship work. It's like, well, that conversation's done. And I think the sport that I fell in love with was one that it felt like it was able to give people opportunities. And now as a team owner, you spend all this money going through it. And the reason that I'm not driving anymore as a race car driver is because it is a fundraising proposition. That's all we're doing. We're just trying to raise more money. So at the Cup level, they have a lot more guaranteed revenue than we do. And on top of that, they have charters that have inherent value. Whereas at the Xfinity and the truck level, Chase, we got nothing. Like there is no backup. And we're not guaranteed in these races at all. Like we're showing up and potentially missing races. And
clawing, dude.
Yeah, it's like I've had to have that conversation with sponsor. So sponsor gives you money and is like, you're like, I can't even guarantee you in the race.
Wow.
And yet, you're seeing these guys at the top level of the Cup Series. What's the value of a charter worth? It's now worth $40 million. So a guarantee to be in these races and kind of that franchise thing is way more valuable than the race cars. And Xfinity teams and truck teams have none of that. And now with this lawsuit, it doesn't feel like that's ever going to even be a conversation, right? Because this has now become the sticking point where NASCAR is saying this is giving too much power to the teams. And the teams are saying, this is like the only thing that is really valuable to us is this is the only way we're able to raise money. And you're basically saying that it's going to be over in 7 years unless you renew it. So that's the big sticking point here, right? So like for the Xfinity and Truck Series teams, like not only is there not enough revenue, but then there's no guarantees at all. And I think that's why you've seen so many of these teams start up and shut down, right? Like what is the level of performance that you can reasonably expect? There is no amount of winning that you can do to make it break even. It's not going to happen. The joke with junior motorsports is like they could go out and win every race, and they basically did. They won 20 races. I guarantee you they lost money. Like guarantee.
It's
Because the Xfinity Series, it just doesn't pay enough money. It just doesn't pay enough. And
you do it for the love of the game, like literally.
The crazy thing is, Chase, it pays so much money and it's still not enough money, right? Like the costs of this have just gone up so much. And that's the least favorite thing that I do as a general manager or president of a race team is have a conversation with drivers that I really want on the team. And then we have to start talking about how much money it's going to take to be able to just make it a break-even proposition. And our number is so much lower than a lot of the teams that we are competing against because we're an independent team. We're not leasing engines. We're not doing all of these extra competition things. So like our dollar figure is way lower, and yet it's still so much money.
Yeah.
It's still so much money
because you have to depend on so many things outside of the scope of just like focusing on trying to be that team that's finishing 15th or higher every week. And then the majority of probably the operation is focused on other things. And that I want to know, like, in a perfect world, like, what's the best revenue model that you think would exist or could get things to a level playing ground for everybody to be able to have those to go out and get those drivers that they want? Because I mean, I have my idea of it, but I'd love to hear yours. Yeah,
so some sort of permanence in the idea that, again, a charter, something like that. If it's for Alpha Prime Racing, it's probably as a 2-car team, right? We've been a 3-car team, but really since our inception, now this is year 5, we've at least had 2 cars on the grid for 5 years now, right? So that's kind of how that got handed out initially, was that. I think ultimately when it comes to this, I mean, this is going to be hot take here before we get into the money. Like, I think you should have to choose series. Like, I think it's absolutely crazy that you have cup teams that race in our level and then have 4 or 5 different teams in the level. It's just kind of weird. And for anybody that says, well, that would gut the series, it's like, no, it wouldn't, because we would run another car and Sam Hunt would run another car and Ryan Sieg would run another car. And so, I mean, the series would just fill out. I mean, it would be fine. Like, nothing would change about it. But the idea of they dominate one and then they dominate the other series, like, there is no other sport in which this happens. Like, it just doesn't happen. So I think realistically, like a break-even point for an Xfinity Series team, again, we do it relatively on the lower end of the budget here, but you're still looking at $2.5 million. And the prize money that's coming in is going to be around $1 million. I mean, that's give or take a little bit just because of what part of the field you're racing in. It could be a little more, it could be a little less. So you're essentially saying you got to raise $1.5 million to just get back to zero. That's to make no money. And the crazier part about this, Chase, is like everything that you own it's like buying a computer where you're like, in 3 years, this is not any good anymore.
Right. Yeah. So, you got to keep upgrading.
So there's a churn to that. Right. So like the reason that people give up on this is it's not just buying the stuff and going and racing. It's the cost of continuing to race.
Right.
There is a permanent cost in doing that and trying to make your team better and get better equipment and hire better people or pay them more or upgrade your facility or whatever you're doing. So like you have to be profitable. So like even a team like ours that's on the lower end of the grid, well, I say we're probably in the middle of the grid, right? So we're middle. Yeah. We're a great.
I don't see you as a low end of the grid team.
Yeah, I would tell you that on budget, we are, right? Like in budget, we're probably a 30th place team in budget, which is crazy. But I think realistically, yeah, we're a middle of the field type of team, right, in performance. And I think that we would make a profit and everything would be fine if we're getting about $3 million a car, right? And so really what NASCAR is arguing, Chase, right now is that teams need to be lowering their cost. And I actually am like mostly in that boat, right? Like I think there are a lot of teams that are spending more money than they probably should. Right. Obviously we're on the smaller end. So like I'm like, well, we have proven that you can definitely do it for less than that. And then they would come back and say, well, yeah, but you can't go win for this. And it's like, well, I would sit here and argue, you're making it cost that much to go win.
Yeah. Let's see what you're saying.
If you weren't here, I would be winning. Right. So like we can actually field the team for this. You're making it cost that. Yeah. Right. So like, I think there's probably the truth is in the middle somewhere. I think realistically, though, there's probably some cost cutting that could happen in the engine programs. I think they've gotten just absolutely astronomical. And it's just like, this is my theory on all of it, Chase. Like, if it is something that a fan isn't going to notice, then why does it cost more money?
Yeah.
Like, essentially what a fan wants, this is my big theory, and I get into arguments with people about this all the time, especially with the next gen car and so many other things. But it's like, I have yet to hear one fan talk to me about truck arm rules. Like, nobody's, like, it's never come up. Like, nobody's talked to me about radiator size. Nobody's talked to me about, like, you know, jack screw placement and, like, upgrading the fuel cell foam and, like, some sort of, like, fuel filler cap stuff that we got. Like, what are we doing? So if it's safety, like, I am pro safety. We got to make sure the drivers are safer. We got to make sure the crews are safer. And sometimes that's going to cost money. And, like, I get that.
And that's a continuing thing.
And it's a continuing thing. But really, all we should be working towards is making these cars as cheap and as easy to fix as possible. Because, like, ultimately, that's what fans want to see. Fans want to see wrecks and excitement. And, like,
my dad did. I know my dad did. My dad loved him some of that. But I do think,
but, like,
too, that, like, just the competition.
You used to be able to beat things out with a hammer. Okay. So, like, all that, like, oh man, all the sheet metal and, oh man, yeah, we're bumping fenders and all this stuff. Yeah, dude, it was a stock car was a much simpler car than it is now. These things are made out of plastic now. Like, it's plastic components. They break and they cost a lot of money to fix them. And the tolerance to go through a tech is in the 10,000ths of an inch. So it's like, it has to be laser scanned, precision measured every single week. Otherwise, you're not going to even be able to put it on the racetrack. So like we have made it cost more.
Right.
Like, you used to be able to beat the thing out with a hammer. When I first started driving for BJ McLeod, we were still running steel bodies.
Yeah.
And so if you got in the wall a little bit, let me tell you what happened. You went back to the shop, and yeah, it wasn't going to be the best version of it, but you could go to the next race and basically beat the sucker out with a hammer. That is not happening with composite bodies and all the stuff that we're doing now. It's just not happening. You can't fix it. And it's a part that you can only get from one place. So, like, as those costs have risen in production, like, that's what's caused so much of this. And the teams have just kind of taken a back seat to it. And the next gen car was basically just like you dropping a hand grenade in the elevator shaft, because it took away my team's ability to get essentially the trickle down economics of the Cup Series, right? So, like, we used to get all their old parts for our cars. One race used brakes, one race used fill in the blank, right? Because all those teams have parts deals. They just put new stuff on every week. That's gone now. All those components are completely different. If we have any major wrecks, we basically have to get the parts purpose built for our team. Like, if we say, for example, off Prime Racing, we run a lot of Hendrick stuff. Well, Hendrick isn't making this anymore. They have a next gen car. So, like, those parts are now consumable. So if I'm like, I want to get suspension parts for a Hendrick car, it's like, well, good luck. You probably are going to have to pay somebody to, like, special machine those because they don't exist anymore. So, like, that's where a lot of this cost has come from, man. Like, man, when I was racing, for me to try to have broken now as a driver, and I think about it, like, I had over 150 starts. We would have never had enough money to do it. Like, I mean, it would have just been like, this is a joke. Like, we couldn't even try to do it now. And that's where, like, the pool of people, like NASCAR, I think, is the people's motorsport. Like, that's what this was built on. And the number of people that we have, it was not supposed to be an exclusive motorsport. And the number of people that can actively participate at a national level now, we're just making that pool smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And that's why I think you're seeing so much pushback from the fans. It feels like we're so far from where we were even just 15, 20 years ago when it comes to participation and cost.
Yeah, and when you look at it from that aspect, a lot of the stuff that you were just talking about, you know, it's the next gen car pretty much canceled anything you guys had that could come down. How much time do you suspect, or maybe you know, like, how much are they trying to come up, like, programs for innovation? Like, what are they doing? Because, like, we are living in we're getting ready to launch into a really crazy future. And there's a lot of new technology that's coming out right now that I feel like could offer a lot of those cost savings. And there's a lot of other automobile manufacturers that are figuring out new ways to do things. Do you know like how much how much time is being poured in, or is this just something they're just waiting to get to when it's time to maybe drop a new car?
Yeah, I think the main thing they're trying to focus on right now, Chase, is like how do they make a version of a next gen car for the Xfinity series, because, and now the O'Reilly Auto Parts series, but like what does that look like? Because I think they understand the rift that's happened between these two teams,
Mm-hmm.
and like how can we bridge that and basically make it where we're working on the same platform again, and not two different platforms. And what's crazy about that is like everybody agrees that our platform is a better platform.
Yeah, because you have a lot more flexibility in what you're doing, man. Like it's like
better.
when you look at computers, like you have the iPhone that's a closed source phone. Like the next gen is closed source. You guys are a little bit closer to that open source model, kind of the Android of racing, if you will.
Yeah, and then like I think stock car racing is an analog thing. I mean, that's what I think it is. It's that's the attractive part of it. So, yeah, I mean, I think you see things being implemented when it comes to data acquisition. In the cars now, and SMT and how we're like putting all this data back in the cars. I think there is an attraction to that, but I think the reason that manufacturers have really hesitated to get into this in the same way they're getting into like Formula One and all this other stuff and like sports car racing and all, they're using those platforms to develop things for the road cars, right? Specifically like energy recovery and all that. Like that's kind of that's the NASA of energy recovery and like battery technology and all that is happening at those levels of racing. And it is going down into hybrid technology for production cars. There is none of that in NASCAR. That's not happening. And I look at this, and I am a purist and I understand that. I look at that and say, yeah, it shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
That's not what the sport is.
Right.
It's a V8 big block, like go, 800, 900 horsepower, screaming eagle,
dudes turning wrenches, building it out,
throwing wrenches. Like that's what that is. And I feel like what we are right now, Chase, is kind of in the middle ground, right? Of like, there are people that want us to go more towards manufacturer involvement, and that is going to involve some sort of hybrid technology that's going to have to be there for them to really kind of pour into it. And then you have somebody probably like me on the other side, or the fans who are like, yeah, but that's not NASCAR.
Right.
So we're turning this into something else that isn't NASCAR. And I would tell you from the team standpoint, especially the bigger team standpoint, we were talking about money, right? They want manufacturer involvement. Like you look at Colleague Racing, they basically just said, we're out of the Xfinity series. Forget this. Like there's manufacturer money. We're taking that because it is such a much bigger deal to have backing from manufacturer and growth.
And that's only going to grow. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So like that is where like everybody's eyeballs are looking for money coming from these manufacturers. And I think our platform in our series, and really the truck series too, like there's going to be a lot of movement on that in the next few years because they're trying to get to a next gen style platform for our cars where we're getting that stuff from single source suppliers and potentially more spec engines and the things that they're doing kind of in like I think the truck series has a spec engine. We don't. Cup doesn't. Like they're trying to just make everything a little bit more uniform. And right now we're kind of in the middle ground, which is just messy. I mean, it's just messy and it's kind of messy for everybody.
I think it's important to give a good sandbox, but I think that a lot of people are just looking to F1 to be the innovator. And I think that there's a lot of other ways you can be innovating right now using the technology that we have and keeping the soul and spirit of what NASCAR is. So those are conversations.
There's an impression, Chase, that like F1 is cool right now. And NASCAR's not.
But why is it cool? Is it cool because they go all over the world? Is it cool because they got the Zen sponsorships when it should be the Zen Cup? Is it the Winston elements? Is it the sponsors?
I got a movie with Brad Pitt. I'm just saying, like they are hot right now, and so I think a lot of people in boardrooms, like, all due respect to the people in boardrooms, I wouldn't say that they are, well known for having the most creative ideas. I think boardrooms are generally known for creativity.
Risk assessment. Yeah.
I think they generally are pretty, like, what's cool right now, guys? And they're a little disconnected. So I think Formula One is really trendy right now, and it popped off, and I think a lot of people are kind of leaning that way.
They're trying to follow the money, baby. That's it. And I think that's where a lot of things get lost.
Yeah, advertisers, and I think that's where NASCAR struggles a little bit with some of that engagement, because like NASCAR operates as a third-party entity. This is like, welcome back to the lawsuit here, Chase. Yeah. So like the teams kind of own F1, right? F1 is not like this separate entity. Like there is a FIA rules sanctioning body,
right?
But like F1 is these teams. And so this idea that you're going to like be in F1, you have to go through the FIA for approval. And also like Cadillac is like paying all the teams to be a part of F1, because they're going to get a revenue share of like all the money that's coming into Formula One too, right? So ridiculous cost to buy in. And also like they are going to receive benefit from being one of the now 11 teams, right? Now those 10 teams are like, we don't really want another team. We want there only be 10.
Right.
So what are you going to do for me to make it be 11? Okay. So now there's the money coming in, right? Whereas like with NASCAR, that doesn't really exist. Like NASCAR is its own entity and the teams are its own entity. And then NASCAR bought all the tracks. And so like, essentially it's NASCAR on the tracks and the teams are separate. And like, oddly enough, we are competing for the same sponsors.
Yeah.
So like we've literally seen presentation decks where it's like, all right, if you're a sponsor, this is how you should spend your money. You should spend it in at-track advertising. You should spend it on television advertising, right? Like during the races. You should spend it on social media. You should spend it on the NASCAR app. And then you should also spend it on the cars. And it's like, okay, well, really only one of those is me.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
you're doing the work for them. Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute. So essentially this pool of money in Formula One, that money is the teams, right? Like we're going to go put on this event here. The event needs to make money. The fill in the blank Grand Prix needs to make money. It is selling tickets. It's selling concessions. It's selling ads at the track. It's doing all this stuff. But like Formula One and the teams are getting a cut of that, like a pretty good chunk for showing up.
Yeah.
Like that money's going to them. Like I can promise you this, Alpha Prime Racing didn't get any money from the billboards that were sold at like Las Vegas Motor Speedway this year.
Right.
Like there was nothing that was coming to us.
Yeah.
So this is the revenue stuff that's happening here that ultimately for a new partner, for a new manufacturer, for a new fill in the blank that's coming into the sport, they're kind of getting pulled in a lot of different directions right now of like, well, what's the right way to be involved? Do we sponsor a race or do we sponsor a team? Or if we're a new manufacturer, like, do we partner with a team? Do we just advertise during the races? I mean, right? Like, I mean, how many ads do you see for Dodge during the races before they got in the truck series? Like that was happening a lot.
Yeah.
And so we looked at this and we're like, oh man, we need a new manufacturer. And like Dodge was like, we're kind of getting all we want to get out of NASCAR right now, right? We're just an advertising partner. Like that's it. So like that's where this is messy, right? Like Formula One is basically like closed loop. It's like there's only one way in here. And any of the money that comes in here is going to the teams in some way. And like in NASCAR, that is not true. Like, in fact, the overwhelming majority of it is going to NASCAR.
Yeah, right.
The teams are getting a very smaller chance. And so like when we've had, we've had partners that want to advertise at the racetrack and it's like, can't afford to do it. Like, I mean, can't afford to have signage in the fan zone and all that stuff. So like what ultimately the reason for all this, Chase, and the reason I kind of went on a little rant there is like, cause like the person that's getting hurt in this is the fan. Like you and I have been fans for a really long time of the sport before we were involved with it.
Right.
I remember walking down the fan galley with the merch haulers and all this stuff. And it just felt so alive.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that fan experience is kind of gone now. And part of that is just the involvement at that level has now just been like, it's literally just like a chokehold that has happened as they're trying to squeeze the revenue out of these places. And that has just made it so restrictive to anybody being able to participate in it. Like the smaller brands can't do that. So it's like, okay, well now you just got fewer people involved. And the reason that these drivers were such superstars in the 90s and in the 2000s is because the price to get in was way lower, and that they spent the money to make it a bigger deal. So it wasn't NASCAR was just so much better at promoting back then. That's not what this was at all. It was you had brands promoting. And that's the exact same thing that's going on with Formula One right now. You can sponsor Lewis. You can be a sponsor of Lewis Hamilton, and not necessarily have to even be on the race car. Right? Like
Perplexity's doing a lot of that right now. It's a new AI search engine. They're doing a lot of work with them.
They're like, yeah, okay, we'll be on the car. That's cool. But really, we just want to have Lewis Hamilton in ads.
Right.
We really want to have our Formula One driver in our ads. And so, like, that's making the Formula One driver seem like a bigger deal because they're doing an ad spend away from the racetrack. And that's what's creating this. Is it's like the involvement of a manufacturer, the involvement of a sponsor to grow the popularity of a driver. And that's what's driving attention to a sport. And like, that's just gone. And I'm telling you, it's partly because of just the absolute.
You don't have the bandwidth. You don't have the mental bandwidth is what it sounds like to even focus on that because of everything else that you're trying to do just to stay alive.
Yeah. And it's crippling. I mean, it really is. And I feel like that is where we have probably made the biggest mistake. Like in the, this is like a big thing now. And like all tech, like you were talking about tech growing and all this, where it's like, what do these companies say? They're like, we're pre-revenue.
Yeah.
Like, we're not making revenue yet. What are we worried about? We're worried about awareness. We're worried about branding. It's going to be a free version of it, and then we'll worry about monetizing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what happened there is like NASCAR over the course of 25 years slowly went away from like, oh, look, we love the fact that you're in NASCAR. Of course, you can have a spot in the gateway and then all this stuff. And of course you can advertise on television with your NASCAR and all this stuff. Of course you can do that. And like,
what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Yeah. They're like, oh, this is great. We're growing the sport. And then slowly over time, they started getting away from the free trial version of this and into if you're saying the word NASCAR, we're going to be making money off of it. And as those restrictions just kept coming and coming and coming, and those licensing fees went up and up and up and up and up. Well, now the number of people that are participating in that is just way lower, because like a sponsor will tell you right now, and like I've got creative people that are kind of third-party people for Alpha Prime Racing. We do our own graphic design and a lot of stuff in-house, and we really try to do the best we can. But like ultimately, a sponsor will tell you like, the race car is going to be a real small portion of what we're really trying to get out of this. Like we want to be able to promote. And so when they come in and they go, we're sponsoring your race car, Alpha Prime Racing, this is going to be awesome. LeVar Scott's the driver.
Yeah. Shout out to that. I was going to bring that up too, by the way. New driver, LeVar Scott. You guys just announced that.
LeVar Scott, awesome. Brennan Poole, like good race car drivers. And it's like, all right, we want to sponsor LeVar. We want to sponsor Brennan. Great. How much is it? And it's like, well, you probably have to sponsor a race. And it's like, all right, well, that's tens of thousands of dollars. All right, great. They're like, are we going to be on TV? And it's like, maybe.
Yeah.
Can't really guarantee that. And they're like, okay, well, what else am I going to get? Well, we're going to get hospitality. We can get you in the race. Well, how many people? 20. It's like, okay, that's nice. Like, are we going to get a luxury suite? Nope, that's extra. That's more money. Well, is somebody using them? No. Well, can we get tickets to the race? Like, what if we have 100 people? Nope, those cost more money. It's like, well, is the race sold out? Definitely not. It's not sold out. So it's like okay, cool. So it's like, well, then what? Well, okay. Well, it's like, well, what if we want to put you, we're going to use that car in our commercial that we're going to do on television. It's like, great. Now I got to get you in touch with NASCAR licensing, and that's going to cost a lot of money.
Wow.
So even though you're paying me for the rights to my car, I don't really own the rights to it if you're trying to advertise with it, because then NASCAR owns the rights to it.
Yeah, it's got
and now you're starting to see the slippery slope here of kind of like where they're like, okay, so we had a YouTuber, Super Mega, and those guys are so funny, and they sponsored me back in 2021, and it was really fun for me. And they wanted to, obviously the only reason they did this was just like for like the joke of it, right?
Yeah.
They just went on with it. And so they come to the racetrack and they're like, we're going to be doing all this video. And it's like, you can't video the car on the racetrack. You don't own that. Television partners own that.
YouTubers have had a big, like, that's why I never called myself a YouTuber, dude, because they've had a lot of issues, man. And that's the thing, like, it should be, you have to focus on activation. That's it.
Yeah.
And so it takes a lot of the soul.
Yeah. We're not letting creative, fun people grow the sport in a way that they can, right? By coming up with ideas in marketing and advertising and YouTube and all this social media stuff that we could be doing. And you just put the clamps on it. I mean, NASCAR's social media account right now is the biggest social media account in all of stock car racing.
True.
Like the NASCAR accounts are the biggest ones, not Chase Elliott, not the teams, not anybody else. It's the NASCAR accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Do they do a lot of creative content with all the drivers? No, they do paid stuff. They do paid
they have a
advertising.
lot of in-house using their footage, and I mean, I give like I'll give NDM a little credit. Like they got really creative this year with some of their stuff they did on the social media, which was nice. But at the same time, you know, the drivers, that's left up to them to do.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, they had to pay them.
Yeah,
just to be clear. Which in the court documents, what they did, they found out in this, and this is like one of my, I'm screaming at the air right now type things, is they're like, we have to create something to make the drivers help promote the sport more, right? And it's like, all right, the DAP, right? So the driver program that they're putting out to make them do more hits and stuff. Well, first of all, it's slanted towards the bigger, more popular drivers right off the bat. The way you earn points is, number one, be popular. It's like, oh, okay, cool. All right. Nice. So if I'm on a bigger team, I just automatically now get more points for showing up just because I'm on a bigger team. All right. So first of all, awesome. And then part two of that is the teams are the one paying for it.
Yeah.
The teams are the one that had to put in $300,000 per car to pay for the program. So let me get this straight. So like I'm a charter team, and you want me to pay $300,000 to give to fill in the blank, you know, to give to Kyle Larson for showing up to a podcast?
You're supposed to be all in, dude. You know, that's the mentality.
And it's like, wait, what? Like, and this is helping me? Yeah. It's like, huh?
It's brainwashing, dude.
You know, I'm like, what in the world? So like I had a conversation. I know I'm going on for forever here, Chase, but like I had a conversation with one of the people that's in the kind of the creative side over there at the marketing department. And that's where, again, there's a rift here. You see it playing out in real time now in the courtroom stuff. Like there's a rift between the teams and leadership and the idea of your voice not being heard and all that, right? So like met with the marketing people. I felt like when I was a driver that I wasn't just getting access to a lot of the opportunities. And I came there on my own dime to kind of meet with what time was like the driver, whatever. They were like the driver marketing team. And I was like, hey, I really want to be involved in more of this. And they were like, yeah, absolutely. You know, just tell us a little about yourself. And I was like, how about you tell me about me? Like, I've been racing in NASCAR for like 5 years.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
What do you know?
What do you know? And they were like, oh, well, I mean, we have 300 something drivers. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, of people that run full time, you got like 100. Like, you don't even have that. There's not even that many people. And what do you mean you don't know anything about me? And they were literally like, well, you need to like activate and tweet more. I'm like, what? And so like,
we're trying to build a car, dude. We're trying to,
so like, I'm literally just trying to get like involved. And they told me, they were like, look, part of what we want to try to do with these lower levels is create stars. We want to create stars for the Cup Series. So the reason that you might feel like some of the monotony happens where you watch a truck race, you watch an Xfinity race, and they're really hitting a lot of the same beats. You're like, man, we're really, you know, we're seeing the same guys like a whole lot. We're not really hearing a lot of these stories throughout the grid, right? Whereas in the old times, in my era, I'm 39 now, they told the story of that race. Just whatever happened in that race. Didn't really matter. We don't care about storylines. We don't care about a playoff. We don't care about any of this other stuff. Like, ultimately, what we're really trying to do is tell the story of the Holly Farms 250 today at Atlanta. And that's the only thing that matters.
Yep.
And if Tommy Joe Martin's wrecked, we're going to go talk Tommy Joe Martin's. And if this guy dropped out because his motor blew up, we're going to go talk to him, because that's all we're here for, is this one race, right? So like, here's who's doing good. Here's who had a bad day. On to the next one. And they might hit the points like once at the very end of it. Whereas now they look at these races like it is a way to kind of build a storyline over the course of a year to create stars that can go to the Cup Series. And so obviously my pushback there, because he's like, look, stars is what bring people to watch on television. And stars, just like Tiger Woods in golf, right, lifted all of golf. So like, if we can create a superstar, that's lifting all the boats. And I'm like, okay, so let me get this straight. So like, when you're talking about Chase Briscoe, that helps me. And they were like, well, you know, not like in that moment, but like eventually. I'm like, well, because it doesn't feel like it's helping me right now. Because like, I'm just trying to go to the media event that you're inviting Chase Briscoe to, and you're basically saying that I'm not invited.
Yeah.
And you're saying that you're helping me. And I'm like, that's not.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, and they literally said, they were like, well, when you put it like that, it's like, but that's not what we're trying to do. And I'm like, yeah, but that's what it feels like. It feels like I'm not cool enough and I don't matter. And nobody would want to hear from me because I drive for BJ McLeod and I don't drive for Stuart Haas.
It's got to change, man. That
sucks.
It really does. But I mean, it shows it too. And I think that this court case coming out, I think that Michael Jordan kind of like coming out and talking about how he's doing this for the teams because he doesn't fit. I mean, obviously, when you look at financial models, nobody really can do it other than him. So it's
even Richard Childress when he took the stand yesterday, right? I mean, we're recording this like while this is still going on, right?
Yeah, day 8.
Richard Childress takes the stand, and they're like, "Well, it says right here, RCR made money." He's like, "Whoa, wait a minute." The only reason it made money on that campus, he's like, I got 13 buildings on that campus. 6 of them are not racing related. That's where I make the money to dump back into RCR, which loses money.
Yeah.
Like,
a lot of people are learning that now, dude. I was mind blown that people didn't really understand a lot of how that worked. But
yeah, he's like, I want to own a race team. So I got to have a winery and a machine shop and a federal contract and a graphic design thing. And all these things make money to then support the fact that the race team can't make money.
That's where,
that's why you basically had to create your own sponsorship. And so that's why, like, honestly, Chase, for all these, the fans and all the people that are such like hardcore people about the sport, they see how many teams have closed over the years. And trust me, dude, these are people that are a lot more rich than me, right? People got a lot more money than me, but what do? They buy in, they go, oh man, this is cool. I'm gonna buy in there. Everybody's like, oh, it's going to cost a lot of money up front. You're like, that's fine. I'm rich. Cool. I want to own a NASCAR team. You're like, okay, cool. They spend the money and then they run like 20th. And they're like, well, no, wait a minute. I want to go try to win. And they're like, okay, well, that's a lot more money. And like, we don't really have the sponsorship yet. And they're like, I don't care. I'm rich. I want to go try to win. So they spend even more money. And now, even if they don't win, they're getting a little better. But then they're eventually like, okay, so like, we're really good now. Where's the money? And they're like, yeah, here's the thing. Not really getting a lot more sponsors because we're running better. And they're like, I thought you got sponsors. You guys have been telling me the whole time, if we run good, we're going to get sponsors. And it's like, kind of. And it's like, well, Rick Hendrick gets sponsors. And it's like, well, he kind of owns the companies.
Yeah.
that are sponsoring the car.
There you go. That's so your thing.
Okay. So that's why, like, you're like, where are the new owners? It's like, well, there are no new owners because who is sound financially that is like, let me just go into this thing that's going to just be a sieve for money and never get any better.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, am I going to be appreciated? Not really.
Maybe not.
It's like, okay, cool, man. That sounds awesome.
It makes you sound like you have to be insane to start a race team, dude.
You are, right? But but I was a racer, right? And that's the difference. And that's really the big tragedy in all this, Chase, is like, because like someone like me, like I have done okay for myself in doing this, and we have a business that is afloat, right? But like it's scraping by. But we do it because like I love racing and I've loved NASCAR racing, and that's why I'm doing this. And like those are the people that really aren't getting to do it anymore.
Yeah,
like
this is your life, dude.
Yeah, but like those guys aren't going to be able to survive if this continues in the way that it is. And you're seeing like private equity getting into the Cup Series and stuff, and it's like, okay, now what is this? And what is this going to be? And I feel like that's obviously you're seeing it in the courtroom right now, but I think a lot of fans have kind of been saying those same things now for a little while.
Yeah, I know. I love all the information you've been able to kind of give out, and the perspective of it, man, is what's important. I think a lot of people realize that it's definitely time for some form of change and kind of reform inside of it. And I think we're going to get it. I tend to be a glass half full guy. And as long as you have the right people that care about the sport and that are passionate about the sport in the building that also have good skill sets, that's what makes it. You just got to find them. And I know it's hard, and I know that we live in a world now where everybody kind of wants things to be easy, but you got to find those the grinders, the people that like to chase and figure it out. And I think there's people like yourself and a lot of other guys and gals that are in NASCAR today. So I try to, like I said, try to see the glass half full. But I am excited about you, LeVar, coming on board. I'm excited to get to watch a little bit more Xfinity racing next year. That's usually like my Saturdays, like my day with the wife and kiddo, focusing on Cup. But there's so much going on over there now that I'm excited to watch, and I feel like we're at the very beginning of kind of a new chapter. So it's always good to hear from you and talk with you, brother. And I'll be seeing you again shortly. So appreciate you for being on the show, brother. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, Chase. Appreciate it, man.
All right, guys, that was Tommy Joe Martins joining the show. Great conversation there. And what I want to say is hopefully a lot of you guys were able to get a lot from that. Tommy is somebody I respect a ton. He's just a real guy, real dude that's out here making it work, and had a lot going on in the chat as well through that conversation. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. It is 1:49 p.m. Eastern time, and we do have a few more news nuggets to run over. If you do have a call, you can get it in 980-317-8717. But I'm reading here in the chat right now. It seems like things are coming. I'm not gonna lie. 24 Baby Bull. If you're still here, when I read that in the middle of the interview, I almost lost it, dude. Does Jim France have an auto pen? Like, it's been a day, guys. It's been a day. The phone calls have been crazy today. And that was a big phone call that really got me thinking of some other stuff. Dave says, "Love this. He's old school. We are the most we are the most competitive, hardest working, well prepared, overachieving, best looking professional small team in NASCAR." Yeah. The reason Bill Elliott doesn't have a race team because you can't make money. In the words of Richard Branson, when he got rid of his F1 team, if you want to become a millionaire from racing, start with $1 billion. And that needs to change, man. And I think that conversation we just had with Tommy, it really shows why it's important that we look at where we are as a society, we look at the sport that we love, and we start figuring out ways to innovate in that. All right, we got another call coming in. Motorsport Report, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello, Super NASCAR fan Andrew calling in.
What is up, my man? How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Man, I'm enlightened. I'm becoming enlightened by the minute.
Yeah.
What's on your mind?
So sorry to change topics and everything, but I know I was messaging you over the weekend and stuff about a little bit of IndyCar news from Detroit 2023 from victory celebration semi going wrong. When I ended up working the last couple of Lions games, I ended up working right next to DJ Mint, and she was the DJ for the Grand Prix at the time. And Alex Palou won the race, and Will Power finished second. And she says that they did the champagne showers,
right?
And the champagne ended up getting onto her DJ set, which she's estimating around $2,000, and destroyed it. And she's putting the blame on Will Power. And I'm looking at, I had some video myself. I've shown it to her. She actually might be messaging you on Instagram as well. But she has some photos and everything. I've sent it in the Discord to you as well in my video.
Yeah.
But she said that she got nothing from it. She tried talking to some of the teams and everything, or some of her contacts, and not even a sorry, nothing. And it destroyed her DJ set and new computer that she had.
Well, I hate to hear that, and I did see some of the messages that you had sent in. It kind of looked like it was one of those deals where, like, obviously, anytime a driver wins a race, in F1, in IndyCar, they have a podium, right? And they have their champagne bottles, they're spraying it. It looked like she was, like, very close to the celebration area, and so whenever I think we were talking about this, I had this like in my mind. I was like, oh, this was like at like a club or something off site from the track or whatever like that. But like anytime these guys are winning, I mean, like that's just they're excited in the moment for what's happening. And it sucks that happened. And I mean, I know that you know, that it's expensive, especially if you're a DJ and you're trying to make it. You have to have that equipment to operate and work. So, but I did see it. Like it's just, I think it's one of those things where maybe there was just, you know, a little bit more understanding of like what's going to happen in this area, because I don't think that it was intentional by any means.
No, I don't think it's intentional either. But she's just disappointed that she got not even like a sorry or anything to help recover the damages per se. Like I think that's what she's really getting at, and I was talking to her about your contacts and everything, and that she wanted this to come to light again and see what maybe what possibility that could do if she might be able to get anything. I doubt it, but I know IndyCar drivers are nice people. It was accidental, most likely, and stuff. Although she at the time she didn't. And even still now, she doesn't seem like it was accidental from her perspective. I hope she can call in too. I've been messaging, talking to her and stuff, and I hope that she's watching right now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I will say this much. I mean, it's out there. It's on the show. I'm not taking this off the show by any means. It's definitely something I think that can be handled internally. But yeah, it sucks to get your setup messed up. I used to DJ a long time ago, and I've had my setup messed up before. I've had it like fall off of a table and then like not have anybody want to help to pay for it because I was at an event that I was covering. So I do get the frustration of it. I just kind of see both sides of like how all this happened and the way that this will look. So. But I am glad you called in to kind of usher us into the IndyCar side of things, because I did have some things I wanted to talk about. But it's always good to hear from you, Andrew, and I appreciate you calling and telling us that story, man.
Yeah, definitely. I saw when I was watching the interview, I saw something scrolling that the FIA is actually going to give more points to IndyCar, that they're actually a higher series instead of F3.
Yep, and that's what we're about to talk about. So
that's awesome.
Yep. Well, I appreciate you calling in, brother, and thanks for kind of bringing the story to light for DJ Mint.
Yep. Hope you have a great day.
All right,
talk to you
as well,
later,
brother. Bye. That was Super NASCAR fan Andrew calling in. Kind of interesting story. Yeah, it's like anytime you're by the podium, like I can totally understand. Like I don't think that they just finished top 3 in a race. They're excited, they're popping off, but definitely if something messed up, hopefully the right people were talked to in the moment and about the equipment and the issues. So yeah, I did used to play some house music. I love house music, actually. I'm a big EDM guy. A lot of people probably don't know that about me. There's too many people that see me and they think that like I'm like a country dude. Very far from it. Motorsport Report, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Kay, it's Jimmy Evans from Las Vegas.
What's up, Jimmy? How we doing today in the LV, man?
Oh, doing awesome. It's beautiful. Going to be 70 today. Can't complain.
Hell yeah, dude. What's on your mind?
Well, thinking a lot about, how NASCAR claims they're trying to save the team's cost with the next-gen car, which I think we can all agree none of us long-term fans like it. Hell, they can't even get the damn number in the right spot on this fucking thing.
We see through the bullshit at this point, yeah.
If they really were serious about saving costs, they would get rid of all the gimmicks. The gimmicks are what cost these teams all these wrecked race cars every single weekend. I mean, 2 unnecessary race stoppages with the bullshit, stage racing that nobody wants. We didn't ask for it, and we don't want it. And then endless cautions to end a race so we can make sure we at least total 90% of the field and cost every team a good race car. Yeah. It just makes no sense. They talk out one side and do another. These guys are obviously not serious about racing whatsoever at this point. In fact, I remember an interview with Steve Phelps, a sit-down interview, where he actually told, I think it was Krista Voda several years ago when he first became the president of NASCAR.
Shout out Krista.
He said he had never not only had he never attended a race prior to working for NASCAR, he had never seen a race on TV.
That says everything you need to know, dog.
Yeah.
And that's why we're in the shit we're in, man.
It's just mind-boggling. And somehow this guy's the commissioner of our sport.
Well, I'm going to say this much, dude. If one of the phone calls we had today, if there's factual basis to that, which I'm not going to sit here and, like, say that, like, I mean, according to the caller, you know, he was talking about how Jim France's ultimate motive was to buy, you know, the France family wanted to buy an NFL team. I mean, it's just like it kind of, if you follow the money and the way that the operations are going, it kind of looks like they checked out a while back. And maybe that was the way that they were moving. They just didn't really care as much, because that's what happens. Like when you stop caring about what you're doing and you're just using it to make money, it's like it's gonna fall apart. Like it's gonna fall apart. Like you have to at least care and make money. Because if you don't care and you're just doing it to make money, it's just money. That's all it is. It's just money. And there's a lot of different ways to make money. So I think that from the ultimate gathering, everything just makes a lot of fucking sense. If off that perception, like off that basis. It's really just they were throwing things at the wall. They're seeing what stuck. They just kind of had this thing. They were a little checked out. They just put people in the places that they needed to be into, and they were just, you know, just running it with duct tape and fucking, you know, I don't even know what else. They were building Legos and trying to make it rolled.
It kind of feels like they're operating with duct tape, zip ties, and bubble gum, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's the way it looks. I mean, I think that I can understand the side of it when they look at like what a lot of fans call gimmicks, like the stage racing, the cautions. Like if you're looking at it from a standpoint of like early 2000s, like, and I go back to it all the time. Like my dad and his friends, they went to Talladega. They did love watching wrecks. They loved them some wrecks, dog. And so if you build an entire fucking competitive racing series off of that, it does not become racing. It becomes entertainment. And so it's like the mindset behind of what is racing, what is competition has to change. You can't just look at that and be like, well, that's what the people pay for. You know, I get danger is always going to be an element to it. We love to see humans compete. We want to watch humans compete, especially doing something where the risk levels are way higher than anyone else would be able to tolerate. But at the same time, it's like all the little extra things that are on top of it, and a lot of what Tommy was talking about how it's just almost impossible to build these stars up today because of all the different things that you're focusing on. It just seems like it's time for complete reform, and I think that's the only way forward. I don't know if we have,
but I really hope NASCAR loses this lawsuit, loses it badly, because the only way to rebuild something that is fundamentally broken is to tear it completely down and start over.
You have to, yeah. It's just like, where does that put, like with everyone expecting the Daytona 500 coming up, it's like, I think those are the hurdles, right? It's like, okay, the court issues that you got to sell these tracks, it's like, are they going to be able to find people that come in quick enough to do it? Like, it may be a stoppage. There may be a year where we don't have NASCAR and they have to get it all figured out, because I don't see a realistic way unless they settle this thing. And, like, they're just going to have to take the hit. They're going to probably end up having to let go of both the Steves. The France family maybe has a slow exit because that's a lot of asset transfer. So I think the biggest thing that fans are worried about is, like, are we going to have NASCAR in 2026 if that's where things stand right now?
Well, I think probably if they're forced to sell any assets, there'll be provisions put in there in the judgment that they cannot sell those tracks to a developer. It has to be sold as an operating racetrack for a future operator.
That's what I hope.
That will take that power away from NASCAR to just give a big FU to everybody.
Yeah. The ego has been trending in a terrible way, so I would hope that those provisions are there.
But the other thing is, if we don't save it now, it's guaranteed it won't be here in 5 years.
Yeah, I agree.
The way they're going, you can't barely teeter on 1 million viewers, and they can make all the excuses in the world that they want. But in the 80s and 90s, when ESPN was getting 4.5 million people watching a race, half the households in America didn't even have cable TV. So they can't use the USA Network excuse. That's a bunch of bullshit. Every cable company and every satellite company in the world, USA is a free channel.
Mm-hmm.
It is included in any. You can get the most basic $29.99. Not that those exist anymore, but
right.
cable package that's out there, and it comes with USA Network.
Yeah.
So people aren't watching because they ruined the product. Plain and simple.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see that side of it, and I appreciate you calling in and talking a little bit about that, because I think there are a lot of fans that see it exactly the way you see it. And I try to look at it, like I said, like, I really try to do a good job of putting myself in both sides of the shoes, you know. And I don't want to be on the NASCAR France family's shoes, because that's some crusty shoes, dude. If we're being honest, like, I completely agree, and I completely think that we're just at a point now to where it's just the pimples come to a head. That's the easiest way that I can put it. It's just you gotta figure it out at this point now. But there are people in the chat here that are talking about, I know that they have the whole appeal thing that they can do. The judge has already kind of came out and said he's doing everything that he can to prevent that. But if they've already come out and say that, then I mean, it's like, what are we even doing at this point? You know what I mean? Like they're just dragging this out, and I don't know, man. It's a weird time. Today's been a big day. Today's been a big information day on the show. So I do appreciate you calling in and kind of giving your side of everything, man. And definitely keep calling. We appreciate you, brother.
I'll do it. You bet, brother. Thanks for taking the call.
Yep. Take care. That's it. He does. The caller knows ball. I mean, it's just hard for me to argue anything else at this point. I mean, from all the conversations that we're having, trying to look at this from the most rational, grounded place possible, it doesn't make any sense other than someone, and I would be completely fine if someone on NASCAR's side bit the bullet and they said, okay, we're going to listen. We're going to do this differently. And we see where we fucked up. We see where we're wrong. I don't even care if they admit that they were wrong. Yeah, I mean, because it doesn't sound like that's going to fucking happen. But it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of time to figure this out, and it's going to stall. And, like, you know, we were getting ready to talk about IndyCar, and like Super NASCAR fan Andrew said, you know, the FIA has listed this whole, and I have my own opinions on that stuff. It's like I'm getting closer and closer to a point to where it's just kind of like you got to kind of call it what you see it with what it is with IndyCar, because it does. It's like the article that I read, you know, like I like the foundational structure, but it's also not at the level that NASCAR is right now. IndyCar is on their way there, and I do think IndyCar can get there, but I guess, like, for me, like, and I know I'm not trying to, I really don't have anything else to say about NASCAR today, but like on the IndyCar side of things, like, I just don't like how it gets framed in the FIA. I don't like how they try to frame it as like a development series for F1. I that's gross to me. It's gross, and it's almost like a slap in the face. And I get that there are drivers that are in IndyCar that want to maybe go to F1, that maybe, you know, that was what they originally wanted to do, and they come here. But it's like for IndyCar to get to the level that I feel like it needs to get to, like, it can't be looked at as a fucking development series. It just can't. It's not going to go anywhere like that. I think looking at it, I think right now, like, there's a thought that I've had where worst case scenario for NASCAR, everything gets kind of scrapped and has to be rebuilt. It's going to take years. IndyCar is in a great window to take over as the lead American racing, the lead American motorsport. And with F1's appeal right now that a lot of people over the world have, and like Tommy was saying, like it's trendy, I feel like it's easy to create newer American open wheel racing fans and implementing more ovals. These tracks get sold off. Something like, you know, I would love to see Roger step in and buy some of these tracks, because then IndyCar could go back to Michigan, and IndyCar, you know, could go back to Richmond. And if that happens, this is like the 90s all over again, but instead of it being IndyCar, it's NASCAR this time. And that could be a real future. That is something that I've thought about, and it is something that makes a lot of sense to me. Optically, it makes a ton of sense that with everything that's happening right now, if you don't believe in coincidence and you really look at everything, where it's standing, it looks like NASCAR is in the position that IndyCar was in the 90s when the split happened. And then NASCAR boomed. And I feel like IndyCar, if it does go this way and NASCAR doesn't get their footing, IndyCar could easily have that Winston Cup run up. But I don't think that happens if it's looked at as a development series. And that's just my honest opinion. And I really don't. They had some other stuff that I wanted to talk to. I do have a meeting that I've got to get to today. There were some other things. Just quickly wanted to shout out Bobby Pierce winning Gateway Dirt Nationals. That was awesome. They had the Kyle Bronson fight. I think it was with Brendan Smith. Again, I'm new to dirt, so I'm learning it. But he went over there and basically was just in his face like, "Daddy's boy." He's like, "I'm gonna get you," you know. And it was the highest viewed event ever on FloRacing, Gateway Dirt Nationals this week. That's huge. That's huge for them. That's huge for Flo, especially when we don't have the analytics to really look at it. But, yeah, I just kind of wanted to leave y'all with that little thought I had because I did see the FIA news. And just to let you know kind of like where the points are sitting at. So I'll just kind of read over that. Like what was happening before is, top 10 finishers in the IndyCar Championship. They were doing 40, 30, 20, 10, 8, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1 for super license points for F1. Now it's going to be 40, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 8, 6, 3, 1. But I was reading an article from Motorsport, and it was saying the change reinforces IndyCar's status as F1's second feeder series in terms of super license points. And that wording to me is just IndyCar can be a premier motorsport series. It's just all about what direction you want to go. And that's all I really have for us today, guys. I really enjoyed the phone calls. I was a little bit brain bustered about one of those calls about the Jim France NFL thing. Definitely hope you guys that are watching will maybe do a little bit of your own research and recon. And when we come back here, oh, by the way, next week I'm going home for Christmas. So we're going to be live on Tuesday next week for Motorsport Report. So you'll get it a day early because I have to leave that evening to go back to Louisiana. So next Tuesday will be Motorsport Report, not Wednesday, Tuesday. Tell your friends, tell your family, wake up your grandma. She's napping on the couch right now. Tell her Motorsport Report next Tuesday, not Wednesday. And I just want to thank you guys, as always, for tuning in, for watching, for sharing this show, for sharing what we're trying to do with this show and you guys as a community. Like I just want people to see it as raw and real as possible so that we can all figure out kind of where we stand right now in the world of racing. I will always love racing. Racing's been good to me, and I love talking about it. So we're going to keep doing that. Yeah, make sure you kick Mom on Tuesday, James. Appreciate all the calls today. Make sure that you watch the Teardown tonight, Dirty Mo Media YouTube channel. Jeff and Jordan will be going over everything from day 8. There hasn't really been a lot of new things coming out, and I will be honest, like I don't really know how much new information will probably, I think like a lot of the meat of the things that people were really excited to hear about, Childress, Phelps, France, like that's kind of happened now. It happened yesterday. So there's going to be just some more names, and then NASCAR presents their side. Like I said, I want to see what kind of rabbit they pull out of their ass for that one. But it's going to be interesting either way it goes. A lot of great information today. Big shout out to Tommy Joe Martins. Y'all make sure to go follow him on social media and keep an eye out for more information on the inaugural Grand National Bash happening this weekend. So it's going to be a really cool award show to kind of get everyone a little bit more familiar and to praise those in the sport that maybe don't always get what they deserve in terms of how hard they work and what they put in and week out as a series. So That's it for me today. Much love, guys. Thank you for watching the Motorsport Report. Remember, it's motorsport news for you. Da, 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 da.